Thank you for tuning in to the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like the material. Today we had a really good day in court. I started off this morning for my typical fans. 14,000 people checked in on me this morning as I was going to court. That is so encouraging. I appreciate every one of you guys. So, as I promised, I like to be a man of my word. And also, my good buddy Joe Flores, who's a big time real estate agent, he reached out to me tonight and was saying, "Hey man, when you going live?" So I told him I'll be on in about 10 minutes. So it's good that people want to hear what went down in court today. This is the trial of our era, and I must say it's beautiful to be able to sit in the courtroom every day and listen to all the fine details that are coming out. A lot of the things that are coming out don't sound fine, but it's great to be a part of history and also to be a part of this case. So I'm going to go through several points. I'm not going to do like most people and go through every little note. I'll spare you all that agony of going on for 2 hours, but I'm going to give you the bare essentials of the case so you can kind of understand what happens today. And I'll do this every day for the rest of the trial. So first off, we had a bit of excitement because remember over the weekend they had filed for the mistrial, so there was a lot of talk about it, a lot of excitement in the air to try to find out what's going to happen with the mistrial. Well, it did not stand. It was denied, but when court started today, the judge he asked to speak to the leading counsel of Sean Diddy Combs, and they went off into the judge's chambers, and everybody's thinking like what's going to happen. Is this a change on the mistrial? Is there something going on with the jurors? There was a lot of debate in the air, and then the court reporters came in and sat on the second row, and that added more fuel to the fire. A lot of chatter, a lot of banter about what's going on, but court continued as normal. We still don't know what that was about, but at any rate, the general framework of this case today is that from what I told you happened on Friday, the defense stood up and said, "Listen, the prosecutors wanted to include two exhibits, 331 exhibits, and these exhibits show that Jane's frame of mind is that she felt that Diddy was lying to her. In fact, in her writing, she wrote that he was a pathological liar. So this is the reason why they're trying to frame it as fraud, because in their relationship, Diddy started off whining and dining her right from the beginning, took her on extravagant trips. He took her to Kirks and Caicos for 9 days. He also took her right after that to the Bahamas. So, really nice laying out the romantic whole everything for her, right? However, she painted a picture that immediately after that, he locked her into this whole freak off situation. She called them debauchery nights. So, as they progress in the relationship, this is how they're trying to show fraud. Remember, count number two. Number one is racketeering, right? I've had several attorneys on the channel to explain what racketeering means. But number two is sex trafficking with fraud, force, and coercion. So when they started the trial, they started off with the video of Cassie, the CNN video. You see her coming down the hallway, and then there's some force because you see Diddy kicking her and pulling her back down the hall and so forth. So that's how they tried to show force. Then they showed coercion as count number two because they're saying basically Diddy pulled Cassie into his web. She had her own little career with modeling and showing appearances or what have you. Same picture they're painting with Jane. But anyway, he gave her a 10-year, 10 album contract, but then he wined and dined her, pulled her into this romance, and then after that romance, there was never another album of the 10. And so this is how they're trying to show coercion because they're saying he basically took away her sources of income. Therefore, she's totally reliant on him in order to be able to feed herself, take care of herself. So that's coercion, right? So this is how they're trying to prove fraud. And today they did a good job establishing the fact. I'm not sure if everybody understood the whole point of it, but basically what they're doing with Jane is that they're showing that she came. Diddy would say, "Hey, come and hang out with me. I'm going to take you out." He'd promise her because she's the type of girl that is coming across that she likes the finer things in life. She wants to be loved, appreciated. She wants to go out. You know, you can't just take her to some lousy restaurant. You can't come at her that way. So Diddy's saying, "Come and I'm going to do these things for you tonight." And then when she gets there, he changes the tune and she's heading to a freak off, or Diddy has a sex worker already on the way. And so this is how they're trying to frame this thing as fraud because they're saying he's lying to her, making her believe that she's loved and that tonight I'm going to take you out. But in actuality, he has ulterior motives. So she wrote in her own personal notes that Diddy is a pathological liar. And so this is what the prosecutors is using to establish this case because they're trying to slowly every day build this case to show that Diddy is actually committing all of these crimes. And mind you, we've been into this whole case for 4 full weeks of testimony each day. We had 2 days off with the Memorial holiday, but also the first week we had jury selection. So technically, we're actually beyond 5 weeks of this trial. So I've been going there a little over a month for the totality of this so far. And it looks like we may have another 4 weeks to go. Initially, they said that the trial would be 8 weeks. Then they cut it back to six, said all they needed was 6 weeks. But now the defense came out about 2 weeks ago and they said that they need to build out their trial a little bit better with the defense. So they're going to take the trial all the way to July the 4th. That's what they stated that they needed. So it's quite possible that I'll be traveling another month to attend the trial. So at any rate, when we're dealing with Jane, she's coming in and she's establishing the same points of interest that we heard with Cassie. It's almost like the same story. In fact, Jane said on the stand that when Cassie sued Diddy with this lawsuit, the civil suit, she explained today how she read that civil suit and she basically was torn apart because she said, basically, this is my story. This is what happened to me. So think about that. Now you have Cassie that's dating back over 10 years. And then you have Jane coming in this week. And also last week she started. And she's repeating the same narrative about all the things that were at the free calls. And let me tell you something about the government. They don't play any games when it comes to their cases. They really don't. And people will tell you online, oh, this is not that and this is not this. I've been in the courtroom every day. And I'm going to tell you, if I was sitting in that box that he's sitting in, I'd have faint of fear because each day they lay out their points. They brought in strong witnesses who are victims, right? Cassie came in, she told her story for 2 or 3 days. Now we've heard Jane. She'll probably be 4 days. She's going to go into cross examination tomorrow. It'll be exciting to hear exactly all the things that she has to say on cross because they're going to really break her down. But taking her case or her story at face value, she talks about certain aspects of the freak off. So Cassie called the freak offs hotel nights. Now Jane is saying that she was led into these debauchery nights. So it seems like in time, these freak offs have evolved in their names and also certain features. Earlier on in the case, we heard about the different candles that were used, sometimes up to 50 candles in the hotel. They talked about how they like to use a lot of baby oil. Diddy like baby oil. And also, when it comes to the freak off, here's another thing that I haven't heard in the media. I didn't hear it in court, but I did some research. These freak offs did not. It's not something that Diddy created. It's something that has been in Hollywood for years, dating back to the time of Frank Sinatra and beyond. So basically, it's probably something that it's a learned behavior that has gotten him in deep hot water right now. At any rate, Cassie talked about the candles. Jane is now talking about these red lights, like the red light district. In fact, she tells a story about how one night Diddy had told her to come to the city, and she was excited because he said he was going to wine and dine her. Now, mind you, I just told you about the whole fraud situation. He's going to wine and dine her. She says she's in the car. It gets to be past midnight. Diddy is over there babbling, talking to somebody, and she looks up and she can see the room and she see the red lights through the window, and she's like, "Oh, I know what this means. It means tonight I'm going to be having a freak off, right?" Now, imagine sitting in court. Now, my life is, I don't deal with abuse. I don't tolerate abuse. In fact, I'm an advocate against abuse for anybody. It's not going to happen on my watch. But to sit in court and hear witness after witness, victim after victim talk about all of these things that have happened is definitely draining to hear these stories. In fact, Cassie, going back, you heard the strong stories in the media about what two men did to her that you would normally do in the bathroom. Like, who does this type of stuff and to have two men do that to you at the same time? No good father, no good man is ever going to allow that to happen to his daughter. So we try to wonder, like, where the fathers is at, right? In fact, we need more fathers. We need more stand up type of guys. So a lot of these children won't be abused. This is a very serious matter. But anyway, when you take into account Jane now, she's coming in and telling more stories. In fact, let me tell you what she said today. I could not believe it. She explained, now dig this, right? She explained how Diddy got mad at her. He kicked down four doors, four doors. He knocked down the bedroom, master bedroom. Now she paints this picture like she's running for her life. He knocks out the one door. She goes to the bathroom. Oh, okay, you got another door? She says, Diddy kicks it down. Goes to the closet. Diddy kicks it down. And then also talks about a guest room of how the door gets kicked down. In fact, the prosecutor showed how the door was split in two. You know what type of force it would take to kick the door down? Now, this is what's interesting. A lot of times people come up and they tell you stories or they say it under oath. So you give it some credence, right? In this case, this chick was taking pictures of everything. She took pictures. She claims now. I almost got the feeling that she was working for the feds because it's like, why was she documenting everything Diddy did? It just didn't seem normal. But then as it went on, I was like, well, maybe she just wanted to document things. But anyway, she said that she had taken pictures because she was working with a company to order new doors. These are probably Diddy, a big time billionaire. He probably has doors that no one else has. It's very hard to get these parts. I do a lot with construction in the background. So sometimes we order doors and things of that sort. It's very hard to get it. You have to get it from Paris. It takes 3 to 4 weeks to get here and so forth. So maybe that's the situation. So in court, they had pictures of all the doors that were broken. And guess what? Dig this. Even though this lady claimed she was receiving um, child support, they didn't really say how much in court. She also said how Diddy, even to this day, he's still paying for her child. He's paying for her rent. And he also covered her legal expenses for this case. And today, when the prosecutor said it, Diddy turned around and he looked in my direction, our direction, and he was shaking his head like, yeah, I'm still paying for this, right? I think that was probably his diversion from looking at the jury because on Friday he was scolded for trying to communicate to the jury. And just to give you a little highlight on what that's about, why he was scolded, it all ties into this mistrial. So basically, we had Cassie's friend Bonner. She came into court. She had a personality, very subtle, calm. She showed very little expression. She came on the stand, seemed like a girl maybe around 28 to 30, from what I could imagine. But what do I know, right? She talked about, excuse me, she talked about how Diddy on September 26th, 2016, out in LA, he had her dangling from the balcony and also took her and threw her on the furniture. And then she showed in her camera all these pictures of her bruises, right? So she shows this, and the pictures have metadata that tells you the exact time and date that these pictures were taken. Okay. So we see all of that. She tells a convincing story, but it starts to fall apart. Her story wasn't strong at all. But anyway, it sounded good up front, right? Under cross examination, they cross examine her at length, and she's saying things like, can you reframe the question? Like, what color is the sky? Oh, can you re ask that question? Like, what do you want them to do? But anyway, her other thing that she went to, she said, I don't know. You know, what color is orange juice? I don't know. And then they had brought her in 2 days prior to meet with the prosecutor. So I guess she's the second one that I've heard because Deontay Nash said that before he testified, they had questioned him 2 days before. So I see a pattern with them questioning people right before they take the stand. They asked this girl, do you remember 2 days ago you said this? She says, I don't know. And she had taken immunity. So I'm like, well, how can you take immunity and say, I don't know? But I had an attorney on over the weekend, Calvin Johnson. He's a big time attorney down in Texas, real top of his game, real high level. And he broke down how that works in court. So that I appreciated that. But anyway, under cross examination, she said all that. Then at the very end, a very effective attorney, one of Diddy's attorney, I think her name is Wes Moreland. She showed basically how Diddy was actually in New York, staying at the Trump Hotel at the time that this young lady said that he had her hanging off a balcony and caused these bruises. So this is what this whole mistrial is about. So that's what you're hearing in the media over the weekend: mistrial, mistrial, mistrial. This is how what it all stemmed from. But at any rate, let's talk about something that a lot of people probably didn't mention today. Today in Jane's testimony, she said that at some point her and Diddy were apart for some time, and then they saw each other again, and they were dressed with the same colors. And it's so ironic that today, when she came to court, because I always document what Diddy's wearing and what different people are wearing, right? I don't touch the jurors, but I just make certain notes. Diddy had on all tan. He had on a tan sweater, tan khaki pants. And guess what? Jane comes into court. She has on a tan suit too. So for some reason, the two of them tend to dress alike. We know, according to her testimony, it happened once. And then today in court, one of the individuals sitting next to me who does body language, she even pointed out to me, she was like, yeah, and today they are wearing the same thing. I'm not saying they're in cahoots. I'm just saying this is just an observation of the court. I noticed, and actually today I was on Law and Crime at lunch. So please, you guys go check out the video, support it, get the numbers up. So they like me over there. I want to keep going back. I'll be back another two times this week. So it's really exciting to spread the horizons with Law and Crime. I'm grateful for the opportunity. But anyway, when it comes to Diddy, we see that he's very intense. He's actually fighting his own case. You can kind of discern that. Today, when all the commotion was happening in court that I explained to you, he was passing notes to Agna Filio, his lead attorney. He also was passing notes to other attorneys as well. So he's refuting certain things that are being said, and I do believe that's the reason why he was scolded in court. Remember, I told you that because he's just the girl said he did these terrible things, right? It's just like O.J. Simpson. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. So when the girl said he was in L.A. in September 26, 2016, and then the attorney comes out and says, Diddy, we have it documented. He was in New York on that very time. He started doing his Diddy bop. Diddy came to life. Now I'm adding to it a little bit, but he came to life and he's nodding his head. He's looking at the jury. And that's when the judge clocked him and says, hey, not on my watch. You can't do that. And he told Agnafilio, hey, listen, tell your client he has to cool it or else we'll put him out of here. And he's not the first one that's happened to, but when it's your case and you find places where people lie on your name, I think it's human nature to say, hey, listen, see here, they're lying on me. And I think that this is a defining moment in this case. I'm not saying that it's going to make him win. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm just here to try to help you guys navigate through some of the different facts about the case, right? So, here's the point. I'm going to be brief because I have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go back to court and do this all over again every day. Good thing I'm paying someone to hold the line for me. And by the way, I need to be checking out the comments. So, guys, bear with me. I'm going to get to you guys in a moment. Please sit tight. And also, I'm going to drop the link if somebody wants to come up. I will give you guys some time to politic with me. If you want to come up and talk about anything, you can. But all I ask is that you have your video going and we can talk about it. All right. So, I dropped the link. All you have to do is click on it and come up. So, getting back to Diddy, one thing I noticed, he constantly takes his glasses off when things get real hot in the courtroom. He's also he has a female attorney, Gary Ghost, that sits right beside him, and every time she sits down, he reaches over and sits her down. Helps her with the seat. I've also observed him pouring water for the other attorneys that are at the table. He comes in every morning. He hugs his attorney. Sometimes they reach out their hand. Diddy reaches over. He hugs everybody, including the ladies. These are just observations that you probably don't hear about because most people either they add to it or they subtract from it or what have you. I'm just trying to give you a realistic idea. Today is the first time I've seen him blow kisses to his mother. I think that that's pretty cool to see that he loves his mother. He loves his kids. He's always interacting. When he comes into the courtroom every day, he looks around in the audience and he thanks people for coming. He sees familiar faces such as myself, and he makes sure he interacts and say, "Hey, thanks for coming," and so forth. And you know, he's fighting for his life just like any defendant. Whether you feel like he's right or wrong, I'm just telling you. I'm just stating the facts of what I observe being in the courtroom every day. Let me talk about the judge. I think the judge is very fair, very intelligent, probably the best judge that I've seen. I covered Donald Trump's trial. I went to his court, very boring trial. They talked about all this stuff that you wouldn't even understand, even probably on a good day, unless you're an attorney. So a lot of people were sleeping. Donald Trump slept most of the day, but the judge was more in command and he was really tough. One time during that case, he made all of us leave out of the courtroom. In this court case, the judge is very nice. I think he's super fair. And I think he's probably around mid 40s to 50, but really good guy. And I think that this helps keep the case moving along and also to keep it balanced as well. So at any rate, let me look at the comments here and see what's happening before I check out. Okay, so Joe Flores, good to see you. Thanks to you too, Joe. What's the procedure getting in the courtroom? Hard time struggle. So basically, you have to go there, and then there's the first line. And that line starts usually at the end of a day for your current court day. So even today, when I was leaving, I came out of court at 5. There's already 8 people in line. So there's probably 12 or 13 people that are going to be camping out through the night. Some people pay a professional service. I think they charge somewhere in the ballpark of $30 an hour. So if you start at 5, it goes all the way to the next day. You're going to pay, be prepared to pay a hefty penny. Because I went to Trump's trial, I made some connection with some of the guys. So therefore, I came a little bit more prepared. So I pay someone to hold my place in line every day. So you can go there and stand yourself. I would advise you to get there at 1 o'clock in the morning if you want to try to get into the main courtroom. Do not be intimidated. Okay, we have someone that wants to come up. Do not be intimidated because the line is long because there's one line, but it's for two different. It's the public and the press, and usually the press is paying the big bucks for the line holders. So if you're like number 8 in line 7, you're probably 1 or 2 on the public line. You follow? And so I usually get there around 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm live. Most of my followers know that. And again, thank you for the 14,000 people that participated this morning. That number grows every day, and I'm so thankful. But at any rate, when I get there, I typically go to the left in the public line, and then on the right, the media lines up, and usually they let the media go in first. All right, so that's how the line works. Then we wait there until about 7:40, and then we go into the building and we get into another line. So it's line, and sometimes you can lose your place in line depending on because they have you go through all the metal detectors to see if you have anything you shouldn't have. And sometimes if it takes too long, you could have been number 1 in the previous line, and then be number 7 or 8 if that particular marshal is there that wants to be a stickler to the letter of the law. All right. So we have Ladon here that I'm about to bring up. If you could show your camera, would be awesome. Let us see what you look like. Let's see. We have what's the benefit on waiting in line for the main courtroom, knowing that they're letting 14 people in? You can get in. I think I laid it out already, so I think you understand now. There's a high chance that you would be able to get in. Okay. It's is it Afia? I saw you earlier today. Hello, new subscriber here, back again from your live earlier this afternoon. I couldn't find your email in your bio. It showed links to your YouTube, Instagram. Okay, so I'll put my email here so that you can be able to send me the information. I'll definitely get that to you. Okay, so we're gonna bring up Ladon to the stage. Talk to us.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Um, Good. I seen you on Tisa Tells Live, so I'm a Tisa fan, but I enjoyed, your commentary. Um, I just want to make a statement. I'm really nervous about this trial because it does go up and down, and a lot of the different people have different motives. I do believe a lot of what is going on, in my opinion, but I do believe that not everybody's always telling the truth. But my biggest fear with the jury is early on, it felt like they a couple of them really were on his side. So my fear is that they really overlook a lot of things and cloud their judgment and find them not guilty. That's my biggest fear, the jury.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that some of the jurors will definitely find him not guilty. And this is just my observation. So you're right. Um, for whatever reason, I mean, they're going to sit there those 8 weeks, but it is possible. Now, whether he'll get the majority, that's a different story. But it is possible that a couple of them will dig in their heels. I don't think they're sequestered, from what I understand, either. So,
So how many does it take of the jurors to be a hung jury?
well, from what I've been told, it's just one. I mean, all you have to have is one person. They need
Oh,
all 12.
one.
They need all 12 in order to seal the deal. So, I think there's a good chance that some individuals are, everybody think differently. The way the case started off, actually, I'll stay out of that box. I'll just leave that alone. But the way the jury selection went down, even the defense had some issues with it. I won't get through the details right now. Maybe on a different show. But yeah, it's kind of complicated. But I feel that it's mixed nicely. At least for the main 12, the mixture is nice
Hmm.
overall. Now, if you look at all 18 that are sitting there is a majority, but that majority does not hold when you look at the core 12 that's going to make that final call.
So how was their face looking today?
I'll speak about them at large. Today was a tough day because they were playing a lot of audio from Diddy, and there was a lot of cursing, and I could tell that that was affecting people at large. Also, whenever she would cry, it had a major effect. For some reason, with this Jane person, she cries with a high pitch, and it's piercing.
Mm.
Anybody that has a heart is going to be affected by that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yeah, she's constantly doing it. And there's been other people too that have cried a lot, but this witness, you know what the problem is with this case and whatnot. I shouldn't say that. Okay, it's not a problem. It's going to be a problem for the defense. Is that most of the witnesses that have come up or the victims, they talk about things that have happened in the past, but you kind of get the feeling maybe they're swinging it this way because they're trying to, maybe they have the civil case, because most people have a civil case going against Diddy or like Cassie have won one. Okay, but in this case, we're looking at her text messages from back around 2022, 23, and she's saying, listen, you're making me sleep with these strangers. I don't want to sleep with these men. It's tearing me apart. So it's not like she just coming to court saying like she had to change her heart and saying, I'm gonna get Diddy back because he dumped me. So I'm gonna say I didn't want to be a part of it. She's actually saying, now on the flip side of that, she's also ordering, I think she was gonna do they did a sobriety night, I guess they call it, something of that sort, right? And there were three men that interacted with her. Like, that's crazy, right? And in some of
Wow.
these cases, like today with one of the sex workers that she talked about, I think his name was Paul. She said, I made love to him. Like, how the hell you make love to a sex worker? Like, I
Wow.
mean, is there a line that needs to be drawn here? I mean, that was too much for my blood for me to sit
Hmm.
here and just say. So, in other words, this case is like the Twilight Zone. One minute you think, okay, this witness is telling the truth and she was being hanged from the balcony. Then on the cross, they say, oh man, Diddy won't even in town. Like, that's a big problem. So usually when there's a small problem, it makes people look at the whole picture a little funny, right?
But didn't they come out with the text messages of Cassie saying the next day to KK that he hung her out the thing? He's crazy. I got to stay away from him.
So let me tell you what happened. So the the defense came out with this whole concept about Diddy not being in town. So then we went to lunch. We came back, and then the prosecutors came up for a second, and they had some exhibits read, and basically it showed that Cassie had a text message sent on the 30th, right? Because the girl said it happened on the 26th.
Hmm.
Cassie reads on the 30th, the prosecutors highlight that she's saying Diddy just came in the house and he went straight to Bonner and attacked her. So that did bring it back to where you kind of feel like, yeah, something happened. But again, because it wasn't tight, that could affect the jurors. So that's a big
Okay.
problem. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. And what about one more thing, and I'm gonna let you go.
All right.
So okay, I get that how that can be, okay, a iffy thing. The hotel thing, them saying that he wasn't even in town. We know that Combs Enterprise and whatever he credit cards he got, he rent rooms for his people, his sons, and stuff like that. Are they gonna have video footage of him being at those hotels at the time he's saying to say that he was there?
You know, usually I'll tell you from my experience in the courtroom, usually it's the prosecutors that's bringing up exhibits and saying, hey, do you know this person? They're also doing all the videos. This was simply the defense saying lightly that he couldn't have been there because there's other, they have other proof that he's in New York, but they don't really have, all they have to do is ring the bell. They're
Okay.
just ringing the alarm. And it's probably better to not even get into it because I think they proved their point. They made a stand, and it's just enough to put that doubt in someone's
Right.
mind. Like, wait a minute, how much are people lying on Diddy? So that's what this is about. It's kind
Right.
of like when they said Ray J was Cassie's drug dealer, but they
Mm-hmm.
never brought up a picture of the Ray J that we know as a celebrity. So you could, in your imagination, say, yeah, they're talking about this celebrity Ray J, but they didn't give enough information for you to really bet your life on it. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I
So the
get it.
prosecutors, they lay down their case solid. The defense, they just want to throw it out there like the glove for OJ. Well, if it doesn't fit, so now you get hung up on the glove, and look, OJ walks free. So that's what they're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
they're doing it at a very high level. But let me tell you, there are 6 prosecutors working on this case, and I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. They
Wow.
are sharp. They don't even stutter. You
Mm,
hear me? They have this case down pat. I mean, she sat there today. Comey, you remember Comey that went up against Trump? He was
mm-hmm.
the FBI. Okay, his daughter. She stood there all day and she went through James' file without making a one flaw.
Mm,
And her questions was coming back to back. She never got disheveled or anything like this. So that tells you they've been working on this case night and day for a very long time, probably
mm-hmm.
before Diddy even was arrested, because
Wow.
that's how the feds work. So anyway, guys, I have to wrap
Alrighty.
this. I'm gonna
Well,
have to wrap.
thank
Hey, listen,
you.
Ladon, I know you're a Tisa Tales
Yeah, but I'm
fan,
coming
and I'm
back. I like it
I'm
over
not
here.
asking you to leave Tisa, because Tisa, that's my court partner there. We're all there all
I
day
know.
having a
It's
good
enough
time
to
and
go around.
following the case. So yeah, stay with me.
I
Come back
will.
again, and I'll be looking out for your name. All right,
All right. Thank you. Good
and then
night.
and I'll tell Tisa I talked to you tonight. Very good. Thank you. All right. So let's see what we have here. Please check your email. Okay, definitely. I'll check my email. And again, if any of you guys want to submit a less than 1 minute video, please do. You could tell me what you think about the case. And also, you can give a shout out to your business. And if you don't have a business, I would tell you go get one as soon as possible, especially with the way things are happening with AI. You have to have your own business. Even if you're retired, it's good to have your own business. So anyway, that we'll do some shows about that if people have enough interest. But at any rate, good night, guys. I just wanted to give you a little of the landscape for the trial today. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back on it and at it around 5:45 or 6 o'clock. I don't even know exactly what time I go live, but it's somewhere in that vicinity. And I go live all the way from Grand Central down to the courthouse, and I'll talk about similar things as today, because there'll probably be new people coming in. So if you hear something a couple times or what have you, just charge that to the game. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I'll do a morning show. I'll go to court. Whatever happens in court, I'll come and give you a nightly briefing, and off we go. Thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you.